go. Fun fact, I actually, before I started BookTube recently, filmed a video for a TBR for Shorty September last year, thinking that might be my first video ever. And then when it came to the editing, I thought it was shocking, so it never came to anything. But here we are again. I have actually officially started BookTube, and I'm here giving you a Shorty September TBR. I'm very excited about this, not only because we love a short book, not only because it's the best readathon of the year, but also because we have tarot prompts. So the gorgeous Sian and Bert at Pastory Time have come up with this wonderful readathon, and the wonderful Heather at Too Many Heathers is co-hosting and has designed these absolutely stunning tarot cards for the reading prompts. So called Shorty September because it's about reading short books, but they make all of the prompts in relation to shorts that you wear, because why wouldn't you? We love a pun. So I am going to do a little tarot spread for you now and decide what I'm going to be reading for Shorty September coming up this month. Here we go. Okay, so our first prompt is micro or Taylor Swift shorts, and that is to read a book of poetry or read a book with a breakup in it. Okay, for this prompt I'm going to be reading Trigger Warning. This is a poetry collection written by different women who have all had experience of sexual violence or sexual assault. It's published by a small independent feminist press based in Bristol, which is pretty cool. I bought it like 2 years ago at Book House in Bristol and haven't got round to reading it, so this is a great excuse. Thank you, Taylor Swift. The next prompt is shorts with pockets. And that's to read a book with something that has something on the cover that can fit in your pocket. So I'm going to read Poyums by Lenn Pennie. This is another poetry collection. Lenn Pennie is fucking hilarious, and she writes a lot of her poetry in Scots, and a lot of it is about dismantling the patriarchy and really challenging misogyny. She's a wonderful person. Some of this is also about sexual violence and her experience of domestic abuse. So another tricky read potentially on the poetry stakes. But this has, as you can see, a match on the cover which would fit perfectly in one's pocket. Our next prompt is jorts or jean shorts, and that's to read a book from, let's get this to focus, to read a book from the 70s or 80s. I have two options. Oops. I have two options for 70s book recs. First is They by Keegan. This is a dystopian book that's about a future where art is being destroyed, and it asks questions of how we value culture and art. And the next is A 5-Year Sentence by Bernice Rubens. It's about a woman who's due to retire and plans to go home and take her life by 6 p.m. on the dot. But as she's leaving her workplace for the last day, she's presented with a 5-year diary. And as somebody who is an absolute stickler for obligations, she sticks with the diary, and so is destined to live another day or another 5 years at least. It's giving A Man Called Uva vibes, which I loved. Obviously this was written long before that. I'm hoping it's as warm and uplifting. Our next prompt is Rockstar Shorts, and that's to read a book and pair it with a playlist or some music. Local Fires by Joshua Jones is a short story collection, and it's queer, it's based in South Wales, and I'm hoping to get really stuck into lots of the music from my youth. So we're talking stereophonics, we're talking feeder, we're talking super furry animals maybe, but yeah, your South Walian bands of the 90s, Manic Street Preachers perhaps, yeah, you name it, we're going to go down that memory lane whilst reading Local Fires by Joshua Jones. The next prompt is ripped shorts, and that is to read a slasher or a mystery or a thriller. Two options for mystery slash thriller situations. The first is Summer Water by Sarah Moss. Sarah Moss is the queen of short fiction, and this one is set in the Scottish Highlands. There's a couple out for a drive, there's a teenage boy kayaking on the loch, there's a woman running, but is she running away from something? And we find out what connects them or what's going to tear them all apart in this book. My other option is All Yours by Claudia Pineiro. This sounds like such a good time. Should I say that? Does that make me crazy? Maybe I shouldn't admit to that. Let me tell you what it's about and then you decide. So this is about a woman who follows her husband and discovers that he is having an affair, and whilst she's doing that she witnesses him killing his mistress, and wanting to protect her husband she goes behind him unbeknownst to him and cleans up after him to cover up the crime. It sounds like it sounds great. Read into that what you will. The next prompt is New Metal Bermuda Shorts, and that's to read a book with a mix of genres. For my genre blend, I'm going to read The Replacement Centre by Fflur Dafydd. This is speculative and a mystery. So this is about, there's very little on the blurb in the back. When a husband or wife in the community dies, the living partner can get a replacement to help them through their grief. But a mystery still surrounds where the replacements come from and whether they are content to play this role. So that sounds such a good time. So this is, my genre blend is mystery slash speculative. The next book that I have is Zip Off Trousers, and that's to read a book with a title that could be shorter. These are so good. There we go. We focused, maybe. Yeah, so read a book with a title that could be shorter. For my title that could be a bit longer, I've gone for, I can't remember the title, but the cover is blue by Elias Greig. I've literally just picked this up from the library. It's Anecdotes from a Bookseller. Reflecting on all of the interesting, quirky, outright outrageous customers that they've had interactions with. So that sounds like a great time. Next up is Summer Cookout Shorts, and that's to read a book where you can pair it with something that you like to cook or a recipe. I am going to pair Starfish Blossoms by Samantha Rumbidza Vazhure with some cooking, I hope, because Samantha is of Zimbabwean heritage and I think that would be rather delightful. This is a poetry collection, and can we all just take a moment to appreciate how stunning this book cover is? Thank you. Next up is Leopard Print Shorts. And this is to read a book that you have discovered in the wild or that you've seen somebody reading in the wild. This I picked up in the wild. This is Little Scratch by Rebecca Watson. I picked this up at a book event where we all brought some books to swap. So this had belonged to somebody else, they'd read it and brought it along to swap for something else. So collected from the wild. It's set over the course of a day. And seemingly on the surface it's a just slice of life, day in the life of, but this person that we're following has experienced trauma, and so there's lots more going on under the skin. It plays with form throughout, and I've heard really good things about it, so I'm excited to get to this. The next prompt is Supermarket 2-pack Shorts Bundle. And that's to read a book, a non-fiction book that pairs with one of the other books that I've selected. The non-fiction book that I'm going to pair with some of the others is How to Stay Sane in an Age of Division by Elif Shafak. I think I could probably pair this with any of these books that talk about trauma. sexual violence, domestic violence, I'm assuming that, oh, murder, going back to all yours. So there's plenty of division in a lot of the books that I have picked. So I shall be reading How to Stay Sane in an Age of Division by Elif Shafak. I'm actually going to see Elif Shafak in September in Bristol, and I am stoked for it, so this is perfect timing. Next up is Paper Bag Shorts. And that's to Paper Bag Shorts, treat yourself, buy yourself a book and hope that you get a paper bag with it. So I'm going to save this to do in September at some point and treat myself to a new purchase. And last but not least is Half and Half Shorts. I always really struggle with this prompt. So it's to read a book and watch a film that it has an adaptation for. Okay, hear me out. For pairing a book with a film, I am going to read Medusa by Jessie Burton. Now, I hear you, Kerry, this has not been adapted for film. I know, but I really struggle with this prompt. And I really want to read this book. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this book, which is about Medusa, obviously, and we're going to watch a film about Medusa. And it's not going to be this adaptation, but it's going to be a film about Medusa. That counts, right? That's okay? Yeah, thank you. Great. There's also an extra prompt that has been thrown in that's somebody's shorts, and it's to read an Irish book, and I have put So Late in the Day by Claire Keegan on hold at the library, so hopefully that will come in time. I love Claire Keegan. I love her with all my heart, and so yeah, this is another good excuse to read another Claire Keegan book. Okay, so here is my stack of books for Shorty September, but hold please, because I have a few more. I'm really sorry if you can hear the washing machine. I didn't time this very well. So I have a few other short books that I could throw in if I wanted to, if I want to swap any of the others out or whatever. So the first of those is The Blunder by Lenn. This is set in Cameroon in the 1920s, I want to say. 1922 to 1931. It's a peak time for colonialism, and this is about a kind of cover-up to something that's gone horribly wrong. So that's The Blunder by Lenn. Another is Walking by Erlin Karge. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that name. I really should have looked that up. In fact, let's just do that. Erlin Karge. Okay, I overthought that. It's Erling Kag. I've read Erling's first book, which is Silence, and it's absolutely beautiful. And this is all, you know, a book that's meditations on walking with lots of lovely pictures. Erling is an explorer, an Arctic explorer, so his first book, The Silence, was all about the silence of being in all of that snow, with literally nobody around, and it was very beautiful and very meditative, so I'm hoping this will be the same. This is a very recent purchase I picked up. This is Green Water, Green Sky by Mavis Gallant. This is described, okay, this is why I bought this book, right? An elegant, melancholic novella about memory, family, and the meaning of home. Green Water, Green Sky was Mavis Gallant's debut novel and is a quietly dazzling example of her masterful shifts in narrative perspective and her visceral exploration of displacement and exile. I think that sounds really lovely. Oh, I wonder when it was published. Oh no, 50s, too early. Yeah, well anyway, that's another contender potentially. Another is Penelope Lively's short story collection, The Purple Swamp Pen. Another stories I read Moon Tiger by Penelope Lively earlier in the year and adored it, and so I'm really keen to read something else by her. Our book club's picked another of her books at some point between now and Christmas, so I will get to read a bit more, so if that doesn't happen for Shorty September, that's okay, but this is an option, it's quite short. And then I've also just popped into the library and picked up the book that I shared with you already. The others that I picked up as possible contenders are 6'6" by Kit DeWall. This is another one of the Region Agency's quick reads. And Pink Mist by Owen Shears. This one was one of the winners of Wales Book of the Year at some point, so this is on my wish list anyway. So this might be a good excuse to get to this. It's a is it like a novel written in verse? I want to say it's about 4. Should we just read it? Pickmist is a verse drama about 3 young soldiers from Bristol who are deployed to Afghanistan. So that's our other option. I've got a couple of, I want to say there's probably a couple of classics upstairs that I haven't got to that would potentially fit for Shorty September, but we don't need to go through every single short book. That's enough for now. We have a TBR and I'm very excited to get started. I really hope that you're going to join in, and I cannot wait to see what everybody is reading for these super duper prompts. See you in September.